Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our April marketing workshop. I'm really excited to introduce Jane, who's presented for us before and was so popular. We asked her to come back. She is a wealth of marketing knowledge. Jane is known as the sales strategist for the non-salesperson, which is most of us. Works with service-based professionals, revolutionizing the way they work and live through innovative selling strategies and next-level conversation mastery. So they can grow their business with confidence, enjoy greater freedom, and create the lifestyle they desire. Jane teaches her clients how to create sales verbiage and deliver it with authenticity and finesse. So they have the confidence to sell themselves in a way that feels natural and easy. Jane is a much sought after speaker for podcasts, presentations, both in person and virtual, and is frequently featured as an expert contributor to various publications. She's the author of Unlocking Effortless Sales, Mastering 7 Sales Stressors, and confidently win clients, and the guide How to Travel More Without Missing a Business Beat. So that's like all of us, right? So many of us we're not salespeople. We're in service businesses and professionals that really, struggle with the sales component. So Jane is going to give us lots of great tips today and let you take it away, Jane.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I'm really excited to be here, and a couple housekeeping things really quickly. There is I'm going to put it again, Google Doc link in the chat. So you'll want to click on that and then make your own copy. So I create that when I do presentations, so that way you can just take notes right in there while I'm speaking. Make sure you don't have your social apps on, Spotify going. You don't want to multitask, but click into the Google Doc and then you can do what you need to do. Be sure to make sure you make your own copy though. So over in the left-hand side where it says file up at the top, pick that and then choose make a copy. All right, so while you guys are doing that, I am going to get my my part up. Can everybody see that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. If you have questions, I prefer to answer them at the end, so you can throw them into chat. We will have time at the end for Q&A. And if you're getting an aha moment, or you're just kind of thinking, that's me, or I never thought of it that way before, please put that in the chat as well. It just helps me know at the end where, if you all are tracking with me, what you found most pertinent, and then guide me. It'll give me better guidance to go through the Q&A. Okay. I was telling Nicole when we first got on, I got hit with this allergy attack last night, so we'll see how this goes. So forgive me if I don't have my best voice on there. That's all that's going on. So welcome to today's presentation, everybody. What we are going to be talking about is conversion conversations, the art of guiding prospects from interested to invested. So I'm Jane Gary. I am known as the sales strategist for the non-salesperson. And a couple questions for you here today. How many of you decided to become an attorney because you deeply wanted to serve your clients? Is that pretty much everybody? You really wanted to serve your clients? Yeah. And then how many of you thought, you know what else I'd really like with this business? I think it'd be really cool if I could become a full-time salesperson. That sounds great. Let me do that. Probably not, right? So most people go into business because they want to do the thing that they do exceedingly well. And because of the thing that they do exceedingly well, that means they are deeply serving their clients. They're helping them solve problems. They're getting them into the next phase of whatever it is that they need. And overall, what you're really doing is improving their lives. That's what you went into business for, not to become a full-time salesperson. However, fortunately or unfortunately, as you can decide on your own, if you are in business, you are in sales. There is no way around it. Sales is the lifeblood of your business. The number one goal of any business is profitability. How do you get to profitability? You generate revenue. How do you generate revenue? You go sell stuff. That's all it is. So today what I'm going to do is take you through how to make the entire sales conversation much more user-friendly, more engaging, more interesting, and definitely more efficient and effective. So I got to give you a little bit of a background story first. This is my dad. And people always ask me, why did you decide to become a salesperson? And it's because of my dad. Unfortunately, he's still alive. When I was in high school, he bought a business, and what I noticed was he was coming in the door every day at dinner whistling and always in this really great mood. So my parents had this contract between themselves that as long as the kids were in the house, we were going to sit down and have dinner together as a family every night at 6 p.m. And that is exactly what happened. So imagine all of us sitting around the dinner table, and dad comes in and he's whistling and he's in a good mood and he sits down and he's jolly. Of course, he's taking off his suit jacket and putting down his briefcase, but he sits down and he's in a great mood. And then dinner would commence. I didn't really think much about it until the later years in high school, where I was noticing that my friends were saying things like, my mom was in a rotten mood last night. I just stayed away from her. That job is going to kill her. Or, oh, my father, I had to talk to him about something last night and I just couldn't. He was completely consumed with work and I don't think he had that great of a day. And I thought this was a little strange because my dad always bounced in the door, sat down, and the family had a lively conversation. So I asked him one day, I said, Dad, you seem like you come home from work in a really good mood every day. And he said, yeah. I said, well, why is that? And he said, what do you mean? Why is that? Well, because Dad, when I'm at school, I hear my friends talking about how much their parents really don't like their jobs and they're in bad moods and they're cranky. And so what is it that you love? And I know that you're in sales. And he said, well, first and foremost, I get to help a lot of people. So what I'm doing really improves their situations and ultimately their lives. So that's really great. That's a great feeling. I guess the second thing is you get to make as much money as you want. There's no cap salary. When you're in sales, the more people you serve, the more money you make. And I don't know, it's always an opportunity to improve myself. It's kind of an internal competition. It's all about mindset. It's staying fully present, staying plugged into the game. So yeah, I guess I would say that's what I love about my job. That's what I love about sales. And I thought, well, sign me up for that. There's nothing in there that didn't sound bad. And so that is how I started my sales career. I started selling shoes in the mall. If any of you remember malls from back in the 80s, or Tom McCann, if you heard of that brand, or if you're in the Midwest. And I loved it. It was the base salary, whatever minimum wage was at the time, but commission. So I was making 3 times as much as my friends who were working over at the restaurants, and that was cool. And I really started to see what Dad was talking about because, okay, shoes isn't going to necessarily save the world, although I don't know, ladies, sometimes it does. So I did understand the concept of helping people, serving them, solving their problems. I thought it was really amazing that I was making 3 times as much money as my friends were doing non-sales positions. And yeah, it was even at 17 in the mall with shoes, there was still an awful lot of mindset and keeping your spirits up and understanding that rejection wasn't personal and all of it. So to me, sales is truly, truly a noble profession. I believe that selling is serving, and I believe that sales really does change the world one person at a time, one conversation at a time. All right, so let's get into this was me at Ohio State. That's in front of my dorm room there, and then this was a few years ago at Hilton Head. Okay, so now, excuse me, I want to talk a little bit about what happened after that. What happened after the shoe store, and see if you resonate with any of this. So I went and got a job, a real job with $1 billion company in the sales department, and I just started moving up in the corporate world. So I had a lot of promotions. They would put me into dying offices and say, good luck to you, turn it around. And that was really fun. I loved doing that. My favorite one was one that was under $300,000 and I had it at $1 million in just under a year. It was great. So sales to me is something that it's just always been fun. It's been my entire career. And I really enjoyed corporate, training sales teams, managing regional areas. The whole thing was just really delightful. And then came a moment where I was thinking about these conversations with my dad. And I really just was ready to make more money because corporate will keep you where corporate keeps you from a financial perspective. So I bounced out and I said, I'm going to go on 100% commission and I'm going to do this. And I went into the real estate field, but in mortgage brokering. I was a mortgage broker. And then this little thing called the market crash happened in 2007. Anybody else go through that? Do you remember it? Yeah. I was in South Florida at the time. The market crashed, and I knew that I had to do something different because we had no jobs for years. There was nothing going on. That's when I started show stopping sales. So that was in 2010. Now, I knew it was going to be hard work, but I didn't think it was going to be difficult or challenging to have my own company because, again, what's the number one goal of any company? Profitability. How do you get there? You generate revenue. Well, I had a whole corporate background with social proof and plenty of testimonials from my bosses and all the promotions and everything. They actually call me Jane the Rainmaker. And I thought, I can do this. So I went out on my own. I started show stopping sales. And at the time, I was actually selling copywriting services because that's another skill that I have. And I thought that would be kind of really straightforward and the easiest thing to sell. It was terrifying and it was awful. I struggled to get clients. I had the most atrocious sales conversations. I could not close a door, let alone a deal. And I thought, what the heck is going on here? Because this is not me. So what I did is I actually hired myself. And I realized that when you are the service and you are the product and you are representing you, it is a totally different thing than if you are representing or selling somebody else's services. Do you all feel that with me? Is that how you feel in your businesses? Yeah, it is weird. It is uncomfortable. And there's nothing fun about it until you realize that you can make it fun. So fortunately, I was able to hire myself. I took a look at everything. I put myself through my own program, my own training, and that's when everything started to turn around. So I ended up, first 4 months of that first 12 months was very scary. And by the end of the year, I was at 6 figures. So understanding if you have any uncomfortable feelings around selling yourself and representing your services, it is totally, totally normal. So I'm going to show you how to get out of that today. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. The reason why people don't like sales and how you can change that. Why objections are actually a good thing and how you can handle them with confidence. How to start every conversation so you're immediately recognized as the expert you are. And then how to have conversations so people say yes, instead of you having therapy sessions where they say, thank you so much, this was great. And then you never hear from them again. So that sound good, everybody? All right. So problem number one, perception, problem number one, is that salespeople just want to close the deal. You all have probably heard that. And it conjures up all the old images of the slimy dude and the very bad plaid suit and all this, not today, but not normally, but for you, or let me go check with my manager. So all of us have had really rotten sales experiences that has given us the perception that salespeople just want to close the deal. They don't care about you. They just want the money. They're fake nice. Unfortunately, there are some shady characters out there, and for them, this is true. But I will tell you, 30 years in a sales seat, managing, training, hiring, all of it, most people in a sales role, they either chose a career in sales or they have to sell because they're business owners. And the reason they're doing it is because they deeply care about helping their prospects get the solutions that they need to their problems. So I want everybody I'm going to do a quick exercise. Close your eyes for a minute. And I want you to think of the last time that you purchased something. If you can think of a big ticket item, that would be great. House, car, boat, vacation, couch, whatever. If your couch is costing as much as your boat, might need to have a separate conversation, but get something in your mind, big purchase. And I want you to think of when you purchased that thing, how did it go? Did you feel heard? Did they really understand what it is that you were looking for? Or did it feel bad? So whichever way it's going in your mind, whether that particular sales transaction felt good or bad, just hang on to that for a second. And now what I want you to do is think of something else that you bought, and preferably, again, another big ticket item. And whatever your first experience was, I want you to now remember a time when you had the opposite experience. So in the first example, if it felt really good and you were really happy and that person helped you out and it was just a delightful experience, now I want you to come up with an experience that just did not feel good. It was uncomfortable. They felt really pushy, that. If the first one felt pushy, I want you to go find in your memory one that felt really good. Okay, everybody got it? Okay, you can open your eyes. Could you really feel the difference? It's the same concept. You needed or wanted something, and this other person was able to give it to you with an investment, but they were able to solve the problem that you had, or they were able to delight you because you were looking to be delighted with whatever it was that you purchased, and it felt good and you were happy. And then on the other hand, if you were able to come up with both, you probably had an experience where it did not feel good, it felt really pushy, it just felt like they were about their own agenda, probably trying to meet their quotas. And so this is what happens. This is where we get the perception that salespeople just want to close the deal. The human mind is really fascinating, and it can very quickly pull up painful memories. So when it pulls up painful memories and then starts stacking those bad sales experiences one on top of another, I felt it too. It's like, that is not a good experience. The salesperson just wants to close the deal. So there are some money grabbers out there. You're not going to be able to get around them. A lot of times, really, they just haven't been taught or they haven't been trained. So it's really not their fault. They've just kind of decided to wing it and see what happens. And I've got to get clients, and they're doing their own thing. Unfortunately, they're going to continue to drive the stereotype that salespeople are slimy and sleazy and they just want to close the deal. Most of them just haven't had proper training. There are some money grabbers. And then again, for the most part, what I've truly found is that anybody who is in a sales role, whether it's professional all day or it's because they are the business owner, they really do want to help people. So this all starts with you. This is how you go through this. It starts with you because selling really is serving. When you get over attached to whatever the outcome is, that energy is going to come out. And you've probably all felt it in the middle of a conversation. The salesperson was attached to the outcome. It was very clear, and you felt kind of like a number. You probably felt like a transaction. So when you are overinvested or get attached, that energy comes out and your prospect feels it. When they feel it, that's going to bring up all the feelings for them of, oh, here we go. It's a salesperson. Pushy or desperate is not a good feeling. So you don't want to lean into it with that. That's the whole salespeople are the worst. And then there's the other thing that happens in a sales conversation, which is, have you ever felt this? You're getting so frustrated because they do not understand how you can help them. And you're getting annoyed almost because they do not understand how you can help them. And so you start getting really vociferous about, here's how I can help you. What are you not getting? That's going to put the same feeling out there that the salesperson just has their own agenda and they're trying to get what they want. So this is your fill in the blank number one. You set the tone. You set the tone. You have got to set the tone. And how do you do that? Is you step into leadership right in the beginning of that conversation. How do you do that? You set expectations, and then you're going to go from there. Now I'm going to dial down into that a little bit deeper here in just a minute. When you establish that leadership on the call, what you're letting them know is you are confident and you are capable and you've got it. And that's what your prospects are looking for. Just as you've probably shown up on sales calls before and thought, here we go. And there's kind of a tightening around, they're going to try and sell me something. Everybody that talks to you is experiencing the same thing. It is very natural and normal. So you set the tone and you step in to leadership immediately in that conversation. And when you do that, they're going to have an entirely different feeling of confidence around you. Here's what I want you all to remember is that having a sales conversation really should feel as natural as talking to your friend in the coffee shop or wherever you talk to your friends. Very natural flow. When you're talking with your friends, you are not thinking, how is this conversation going to end? What else do I need to ask? What should I say? Oh, I need to make sure I say it really well. Do they understand that I'm smart? Do they understand that I'm an expert in what I do? You don't do any of that. You just have a conversation with your friend. And that's really how you want to learn to tackle and facilitate any kind of sales conversation. It should feel as natural as you talking to your friends in the coffee shop or wherever it is that you hang out. So how does this happen? A real conversation always is guided by these 6 words. So I'm going to give those to you. Who, what, why, where, when, and how. Who, what, why, where, when, and how. So if you think about when you're in a natural conversation in your everyday life with people you like, you're probably asking them those questions. Really? What happened? Oh no. Well, then what'd they say? Well, what'd you say? Well, what'd you do? Well, how did you guys even get to that part? So when you're having a natural conversation, you're fully present, you're engaged, and you're asking questions. It's the same thing that you want to do in a sales conversation with a prospective client. You want to be fully present. You want to ask natural questions because there is a flow that very naturally happens in a conversation. So when you allow your sales conversations to be guided by those 6 words, it's going to be much easier for you to be fully present, not be attached to whether they say yes or no to your offer at the end, and just facilitate a conversation that will allow them to get to their truth. Here's the last thing I'm going to say about problem number 1, which is what I just said about facilitating a conversation so they get to their truth. Here's what I believe happens in all really great sales conversations. The person in the sales role is facilitating a conversation so that the prospect can get to their truth. When they speak their truth, they hear it. When they hear it, they feel it. And when they feel it, they own it, meaning they own the truth of what they are saying. And it's in the moment of ownership that any of us make decisions to do something about that truth. What you will find when you start having a lot of conversations, and you may have discovered this already, is that when you are really good at asking what I call the right questions at the right time in the right way, not that they're wrong, but that's just the most powerful expression that I've come up with it, you will start hearing things like, thank you for asking me that. I've never told anybody. Or I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. Or I didn't even know that's how I was feeling until I just spoke it. So a sales conversation is really very powerful because when somebody starts to understand and articulate and really dig deep into what is going on with them, their problems, their challenges, their fears, what they really want, that is extraordinarily powerful. So a sales conversation to me is really a sacred container where you have the opportunity to do that for somebody. The best thing about changing your mindset about having a sales conversation, remember, it's just like having a conversation with your friends at the coffee shop and being guided by the 6 words. And when you stay fully present, is you will lose that robotic feel, which you may have been unknowingly putting out or may have been experiencing. Have you ever talked to the salespeople and you can almost hear them flipping the script? Thanks, Nicole. It's been really great to talk to you today. And what I'm wondering is, it's the worst. Have you all ever had that experience? Yeah, it's so uncomfortable. So you don't want to be robotic. You want to have a real conversation because you are a real person and they are a real person. And you do that by stepping into your leadership, set the tone, be guided by these 6 words, and it's just a conversation. Okay. Let's go to problem number 2, which is, and I put this in just for you all, but I've used it a lot because I work with a lot of attorneys. Objection overruled. So we're going to talk about objections and why they're actually nothing to be afraid of. So objections, the problem with them is they feel like rejection. They're actually not, but it feels like rejection, and nobody wants to get rejected. That's not the best feeling. But objections are really just questions in disguise. They come out as statements. Sometimes they come out as questions, but they often come out as statements. This sounds great, but I don't have the money right now. This sounds like it may work for me, but I'm not sure. So objections are really just questions in disguise. So I want you to start thinking of them that way and realize that they're actually your friends. If people are asking questions, or even if they're stating objections, which are questions inside out, there is some interest there in what you have been talking about, which means there is a potential there that they might become a client. If you hear anything like, I don't have any questions, thank you, that's bad. That's not good. That is somebody who is disengaged and they're going to go away. But when you ask somebody if they have any questions and they say, yes, I've hired an attorney before and it didn't go well, and so I don't know that I want to do this again, that's technically an objection. But if you look at it as a question, the question that they're asking is, if I hire you, am I going to have a different experience from the last one I had? If I hire you, am I going to get the results that I'm hoping that I get, or at least close to it, because that really did not happen last time. So here's how you overcome objections. I made this up. I call it the AAA theory. Really powerful. So your first day, this is when somebody gives you an objection. Your first day is for acknowledge. I hear you. I understand that. I get it. The next day is for affirmation. You're just going to affirm them. No wonder you feel that way based on what you've been telling me. That makes perfect sense. Or, you know what, Nicole, I get it. A lot of my clients they have the same concerns in the beginning. So first thing you're going to do is acknowledge it. Just let them know you heard them. The second A you're going to do is affirm them. I get it. Why wouldn't you feel that way? It makes perfect sense. And then your third A, and this is where all the power is, you're going to ask. And depending on what just transpired, you can ask a few different ways, but it could be something like, can you tell me more specifically what happened? Or how did it get to the point where you ended up with this result when you wanted this other result? So you're looking for them to explain why in their mind they're processing this objection. What's really fascinating about this is all of us, we kind of say things sometimes and we're not really paying attention to what we're saying, or we're uncomfortable. So we just shoot something out and we don't really think about what it is we're saying there. There's a million different reasons why any of us communicate the way that we do. When it comes to an objection, what I have found, again, 30 years in the sales seat, what happens a lot is people don't know what to say. They're feeling nervous. They're feeling anxious. They've got some fear. Certainly in the work that you all do, there's a lot of heavy duty emotion that's already been going on. So it stands to reason that they would have objections, which are concerns and questions turned inside out. So when you apply this last A, which is ask, it gives them the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper into what it is that they're feeling behind this statement and the facts behind this statement. What happens as a result is that objection gets diffused because your prospective client has had their own epiphany as they were explaining to you and giving you a little bit more information and a little bit more context. Does that, am I explaining that so that it makes sense? Yeah, it's enormously powerful. So going back to what I said a few minutes ago, where you will hear in conversations, I never knew I felt that way until you just asked me, until I just heard myself say it. That's what happens with objections. When you affirm them, I hear you. I'm sorry, you acknowledge them. I hear you. And then you affirm it. Why wouldn't you feel that way, Nicole? And then you ask them, so Nicole, what specifically happened last time that made the whole thing go off the rails? And then I would probably ask a follow-up question with that, which is, what do you want to make sure happens this time? Or what do you want to make sure does not happen this time? So when you get into the asking part of it, that's really where the juice of any sales conversation is. So a sales conversation, and I did put this one in again for all my attorneys that I love, it's not a debate, right? We're not in court trying to prove the point. A sales conversation isn't a debate. It is a facilitated conversation so that your prospect can get to the truth of what is going on with them. You have to have that information. Okay, let's talk about performance, problem number 3, which is performance anxiety. I know you all felt this. You see on your calendar, you've got a call, you get on the call, you get on the Zoom, and you're thinking, it just feels like there's a lot at stake here. I want to make sure that I sound good, that I look good, that they clearly understand I'm the expert. It's apparent I know what I'm doing. I've got experience. You all are a wealth of knowledge, and all of your experience and expertise is incredibly valuable. And what also happens is when you are beginning that conversation, instead of remembering that and kind of leaning back, going, I got this because I know who I am and what I do, it's sort of this lean in energy, and you get performance anxiety. When that happens, the call starts out weird, and then it just keeps getting weird because the whole thing is off balance, mostly because you are showing up nervous, fearful, just a little anxious, may not be that dramatic, or just excited. A lot of times you're just excited about it. But whatever you're feeling, it's usually because you're attached to the outcome. So if you've ever had that moment, have you all ever gotten on a call and you think, I don't know what to say, or you just get stuck in the middle of it? They say something and you're thinking, where do I go from here? What am I supposed to do? Have you had that feeling of uncomfort? Yeah, it gets weird. And then it feels weird to them. So how you get through the performance anxiety is you establish leadership at the beginning of the conversation. Your prospective clients are looking to you for authority and capability so they can follow your lead. They're looking to you for authority and capability so they can follow your lead. If you get into a conversation with them and you kind of let them take the reins of the conversation, not only will it be a little weird and uncomfortable, that is incredibly inefficient and ineffective. So you have to establish your leadership at the beginning of the call. It would sound something like this. Hey, Nicole, thank you so much for being with me here today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Let me kind of set this up for you. We've got about 20 or 30 minutes today. What I'm going to do is ask you a series of questions so I have a better understanding of where you are currently, what's going on, what are your challenges, and what is it that you're ultimately wanting to accomplish. That will give me a better idea of if or how I can help you. Now, at the end, if it seems like it would make sense to explore working together, I'm happy to talk about that. If not, no hard feelings. You're going to get value out of this call either way. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to answer anything. This is interactive. It's a conversation. Sound good to you? Great. Let's get started. Your clients have a problem and they're looking for a solution. You're the guide. You're the expert. You're the Jedi Master. So establishing that leadership in the beginning of the call is really important. I've seen people physically sit back and go, okay, because there's nothing in there that says, I'm going to make you an offer and it's today and today only, and you better get out your credit card and batter up. Here we go. There's none of that energy to it. There's nothing in there that suggests that's what's going to happen. And you know why? Because it's not. So a power move in this piece where you're establishing your leadership is that you don't know anything about this person. So there's no offer on the table. You don't know anything about them. They may have a whole host of problems you can't solve. That's called a referral. They may have a whole host of problems you don't want to solve. That's called a referral, or just thank you. I hope I provided value, and off you go. Or they might have a whole host of problems that you know you are the best person to solve it. You can absolutely solve it, and you want to get them the help that they need so they have a solution to your problem. But you can't do any of that if you don't set up that leadership from the beginning. You have the solution that they have been looking for. And a sales conversation is just a facilitation of a series of questions that, again, will help them get to the truth of what it is they have been feeling and experiencing. You'll hear me say that over and over like a broken record, because I cannot impress upon you enough that a sales conversation is not about, I have this thing, I have this service, and I'm going to offer it to you. I have this thing and you need to buy it. Get out your credit card because I have this thing and you need to say yes to me. A sales conversation is a guided and facilitated conversation so they can get to the truth of what is going on with them, within them, so that they have clarity around what is happening. Having real conversations is the number one thing you can do to shorten the sales cycle. And what I mean by real conversations is two things. Number one, let's go back to our who, what, why, where, when, how. That's how you have a real conversation, just like you would with your friends. Really, what happened? What did he say? What did you say? How did it get to that? So having a real conversation by nature of asking those questions. And then the second thing about having a real conversation is just that lean back energy, not being attached to the outcome. Why? You don't know anything about this person. There's no offer on the table. Therefore, there is no pressure for you to give one. And there is no pressure from them to say, yep, here's my credit card. Okay, I've been talking a lot. So if I could, I'm going to stop the share for a second. And can you all just throw in the chat kind of the one thing you've come up with? If there are more things, that's great, but pick your favorite one where you thought, I didn't realize I was doing that, or this makes a lot of sense, or something in there. Sam's crying. I don't know why, but Sam, if you're still around, I want to know more about it.
Oh no, it was laughing. Yeah.
Oh, you were laughing, cried. Yeah.
Yeah, because you made the performance anxiety. You're like, ooh. I was like, oh gosh. Yeah, I relate.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Thank you for providing that. We've probably got some questions in there too. Okay, So we're going to move into problem number 4. Now, I have been addressing the attorneys in the room, but I want to address everybody else because I know you're all, the work that you do is for people going through a divorce and divorce professionals. So for the therapist in here, or this applies to everybody. So no matter what your skill set is, what your profession is in this particular realm, here we go. So problem number 4, sales conversations are not therapy or coaching. This happens all the time. And I have to share this story with you about my client. She's become a really good friend. Her name is Christine. She is a dating and relationship coach. She is a marvelous person. She's got this wicked sense of humor. She's delightful. And she is the person I call when I'm feeling down and need to be cheered up. So I've known her about 15 years at this point. I did not do this when she was a client, but we've become friends over the years because she's really amazing at, oh, I hear you, and why wouldn't you feel that way? And it's all going to be okay. She's great at it. But what Christine was doing on her sales conversations is this. So she was having conversations that really had nothing to do with trying to determine what this person's problems were, only insofar as that once she knew what they were, she could start cheering them up. She would start cheerleading them. So this first fill in the blank here that says don't, here's what you don't want to do on a sales conversation. You don't want to teach. You don't want to preach. You don't want to coach. You don't want to cheerlead. You don't want to teach. You don't want to preach. You don't want to coach. You don't want to cheerlead. Whatever it is that you do for your clients, there's a reason you do that work. And the reason you do that work is because you're very passionate about helping these people get to the other side of their problems. So what happens very naturally until you get the training to understand how not to do this is you want to teach. If they just knew this information, or you start preaching because you're on your soapbox. Why? Just because you're passionate. Oh, this is what happens, and this is why you don't want to do it. And no, and you can overcome this, which leads into the next thing, which you're going to start cheerleading. It's okay. Turn that frown upside down. It's all going to be okay. Or you just start coaching. Well, you know what you could do next time is this. And this is an enormous, and I'm using this word very intentionally, an enormous disservice to those people. If you're teaching, preaching, coaching, or cheerleading them, they are not getting what they need, which is an opportunity to step into a solution that is going to be provided by an expert so that they now have a problem that no longer exists and they're on the other side. You got into business so that you could help these people. And when you're teaching, preaching, coaching, or cheerleading on a sales call, that is not helping them. That is actually a disservice to them. So if you've ever been like Christine and you got really excited and the next thing you know, you were delivering the most, it was like the Sermon on the Mount. It was so good. Or you're a super cheerleader and you get off the call and you're high on life because you just, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. Now go out there, give it 110%. It's all very, very, very normal, but it is not in service to your clients. A sales conversation is a diagnostic. Sales conversation is a diagnostic. What you are doing is uncovering the problem and then prescribing a solution. This is for every business owner, whatever your profession is, whatever your area of expertise is. This is really what a sales conversation is it's a diagnostic. You're uncovering the problem and then you're going to prescribe a solution. The number one thing that you can do to have more efficient and effective conversations so that you shorten the sales cycle is have a real conversation. Have a real conversation. How do you have a real conversation? Well, let's summarize this a little bit. A sales conversation is a real conversation with a strategy to facilitate that conversation really well. If you all have ever heard of the Hollywood uses a lot, there's some magnificent books written about how to, the arc of a story, all of it. The hero is not the writer and the presenter. You're the guide. You're the guide from the side. The hero is the person who's actually in the moment having the experience. That would be your prospective client. So you show up as the hero that they need when you show up as a guide who's extremely good at facilitating these conversations. That's the first thing. Second thing is to remember that objections are really just questions in disguise. Don't be afraid of them. They are really just questions in disguise. So we talked a little bit about attorneys, objection overruled. If you're not an attorney and you're in therapy or document preparation or the variety of what you all do in here, keep in mind that those questions, those objections rather, they're just questions in disguise. Go in and answer it with your expertise and your experience. I'm gonna give everybody a little bit of home fun so that in your particular area of expertise, you're going to be able to craft out some of those questions that we talked about, the who, what, why, where, when, and how. A sales conversation should feel as natural as talking to your friend at the coffee shop. It really should. I'm not saying you won't get butterflies in the stomach. That just means you're excited. I'm not saying you won't cross your fingers before you get on and go, oh, I really would love to bring this person on as a client, because maybe you would, and you already know them, or you've got some idea. Otherwise, you shouldn't be saying that, because remember, you don't know anything about them. But those feelings are normal, but you really don't want to go feeling like this is awful and it's stilted and I'm having a conversation. Yes, you are, but you're having a conversation just like you would with anybody that you know well, in a very comfortable, relaxed setting. And then finally, remember, a sales conversation is a diagnostic. It's just a diagnostic. You're trying to figure out what is going on with them. What are they experiencing? What are they afraid of? What are they concerned might happen in the future or now? Where are they starting to struggle? And then on the other side is, what is it that they really want? What is the dream for their life, or what is the best possible outcome they could experience right now? So a sales conversation is just a diagnostic followed by a prescription. Okay. All right. I love going into Q&A. So we are going to do that in a second. How was this for everybody? Good. Okay, good. All right. So here's what is for you, available to you, is a complimentary consultation. So what we're going to do in this is we'll review your current sales strategy that you have for your business and your selling systems to determine what's working and what's not. A huge part of that is your conversation, but I like to look at things holistically, because I need to understand, where is the sale conversation even showing up in the complete selling strategy. So we're going to take a look at that. Then what we'll do is we'll map out a plan of what you can do today to start seeing results, or when you speak with me. We'll talk about getting together a plan, and I'll map it out for you. I usually do the top 3 things that you can do to start seeing some shifts and start seeing a difference. And then certainly, if it feels right, we can talk about working together and what that would be like. But this is a consultation. I preach what I teach. I don't know you. So the consultations are for me to get a better understanding of where you are, where you want to be, and then how you can bridge the gap to get there. Sometimes it involves working with me, sometimes it does not. So I really recommend that everybody book a consultation, and they are complimentary. I'll put the link in there in the chat in a minute, and you can jump on there and schedule that for you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to click off of this, and I'm going to put both my email and then also my link into the chat. And while I'm doing that, Nicole, I don't know if you've got.
Yeah, so great, Jane. Wow, lots of great tips. Amazing. Thank you. As I always say, take advantage of having her here, and you can use personalized questions if you want, specific to your practice or just general. But I know I wrote down a lot of things, so great information. So think of your questions now while we've got Jane's ear. I'll give everybody a minute to think. Did we miss anybody's in the chat? I don't think anybody put any in there. I'm just keeping an eye. Patricia has her hands up. Go ahead. And maybe say what you do. It's good for everybody to hear kind of who you are and what you do before you ask your question.
Yes, my name is Patricia. I'm an attorney, I'm a family law attorney. I've actually kind of transgressed a little. I've kind of did a pivot to coaching, divorce coaching. And I just want to say that I met Jane on our first call our last call back in January, and I took her up on her offer for her free consultation. She helped me so much. I wound up working with her. We've had several sessions, and she has been so helpful. We talked about what I was doing. We kind of looked at some of my patterns. She gave me some really, really good suggestions on how to improve my conversations with potential clients. I now have more of a structure. I didn't before. I was kind of all over. I have a plan. I just feel so much more confident when I'm talking to them. So if anybody is really thinking about it or struggling in this area, I would not hesitate. Jane, you've helped me so much. I'm so appreciative.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been really wonderful working with you. You're definitely a dream client.
Thanks. But this is really good. So I'm so glad to this group for introducing me to her. Really, really good. She really, I think she could sell ice to an Eskimo. It's my saying.
Ah,
She's just like the way she thinks about, like we recorded our sessions. I've actually gone back and written myself a little script because it just rolls off her tongue so easy. It doesn't for me. I thought I was good at it based on what I was doing before, but coaching is completely different than having clients as a divorce attorney. So anyway, really, she's so good with her language, so precise, and I couldn't recommend her enough. So that's my 2 cents.
oh, so nice. Thank you for sharing that. It's always good to hear from people's mouths, right? Than the person selling themselves, but that's awesome. So thank you. I can tell Jane, you're amazing. So great. Sam, let's hope we have a question we can help you with.
Sure. Well, thank you for the presentation. I run a company called Fathers Connect, and we help fathers go through high conflict divorce. It's sort of like consulting, strategy, and a little bit of coaching. And I just wanted to ask, selling for this has been the hardest thing because you're dealing with fathers in a space where like scarcity and everyone is kind of like they feel like everything's against them. And it took me 127 sales calls to
Oh my.
close my first client. But
Okay.
but after that, I closed the second right after. Like it was the hardest thing, and I had to stick it out. But and then I'm always gonna now look to improve. So my question is, like, from the objection handling perspective, I've had trouble getting to the real conversation and kind of give it to them the truth. Sometimes it comes off either wrong or too, I guess, they get offended or the commission breath starts to come out. Like what do you suggest as far? I know you had the 3 A's, but for example, the 2 objections I get is I got to think about it, meaning I'm not ready, I'm nervous, there's something else, I don't trust you, whatever it is, or I don't have the money for it. Which the alternative is to go get a lawyer, which you would spend way more doing than trying this thing out first, as far as where they're at. Because they've already gone that road and they spent 50K, 100K, and they haven't solved their issue.
So I'm gonna answer this from a macro perspective because
Yeah.
the only way to get into a direct, hey Sam, when they say this, here's
That
what
would be specific.
say, is it better understand the entire conversation. So this goes for everybody. If you're a realtor, if you're in the mortgage industry, you're a therapist, you're doing what Sam does, you're an attorney, financial advisor, all of you, I want you to really hear me on this. You are always and only selling 5 things. Always. That's all you're doing. So I'm going to give you those 5 things. You're selling more time, more money, more love, more health, or more freedom as that person would define it. More love, more time, more money, more health, or more freedom as that person would define it. Your ideal client will have at least one, if not a couple more. And there's always 1 or 2 that are rising to the top. It is the primary thing that they are concerned about. It's the top of the mind. This is the problem, and this is what I want the solution for. So now, Sam, back to your question, how do you overcome, I don't have the time, I don't have the money? The short answer is it's never going to be a good time, and none of us really ever have enough money. So no matter what your situation is, if you are the client and thinking about becoming a prospective client, in other words, you're the buyer, and you go into a sales conversation, I'm sure you all have said more than once, because I know I have, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. So there's kind of a psychological loving way to enter into that conversation with somebody. And I just thought of this. I'm going to hang on to it for a second though. So when you know that that's really all you're selling, then what you have to do is go back and look at the individual conversation and pick up from that conversation, what have they expressed to you that would make them now think they don't have the money or they don't have the time? Because I can guarantee you there's something in the conversation, if you have asked the appropriate questions, where that has come up. And so what I love about objections is that they really won't come up very much if in the qualifying part of the conversation, which is just where you're asking the questions, if that's done really thoroughly and really well, you won't really have a lot of objections. I'm not saying you will never have people go, this sounds great, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. You will. But the macro answer is realize those 5 things are really what you're selling. And then remember that the power of a sales conversation is always in the qualifying part where you are asking the questions and they are answering. And then when you get to somebody expressing a concern, otherwise known as an objection, you can just go back to the conversation and then address that very, very specifically. The story that I just thought of for illustrative purposes actually was me. I had just booked I do a lot of slow travel. And so I'll go abroad and I'll stay 2-3 months. And I had just finalized a whole bunch of those plans. And then something popped up on Facebook. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a product. And I thought, that's really cool. And I went in and then I said, $15? I don't have $15. I don't have the money for that. And I got off of it because I was a little annoyed. I was actually really excited about buying it. But that just goes to show you what happens. So if somebody would have said, do you want this thing? And I would have said, it looks great. How much? $15. I don't have the money for that. But I just booked like 3 months over. What? You know, so this is what happens in those conversations. So Sam, did that give you enough of an answer that you can take something from it today?
Yes, I'll definitely book a call so we can talk about it.
Great. Yeah, I can help you out a lot more specifically when we get in there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Perception is just wild. So you do it, I do it, we all do it. I don't have the money for that. And you just slap down, whatever.
I have a feeling that it's part of how because it's a kind of a newer concept and they don't understand the value that they're getting. Because anything is expensive if you don't perceive it's like $4,000. I'm like, what if I offered you a 3-story bedroom house and I told you nothing's wrong with it, it's ready to go, ready to move in, it's $4,000. Now $4,000, complete perception change. So yeah, I think that's good too.
Who else? What other
Time
questions?
for one more good question. I certainly recommend everybody book a free consultation. Sounds like it's worth your time. Anybody have a last question?
It's like Cheryl may have her hand up there. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead, Patricia. Oh,
Let Cheryl go. That's okay.
You're
Okay,
on mute.
I think I'm unmuted now. I'm a parent coach, and I wonder about the follow-up to the consult, because usually I have a 30-minute consult to explain what it is, if we're a good match, because sometimes I'm not the right person. And then they don't sign up right away. I'm always hesitant. How do I follow up? How do I word it? What's the time frame? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So I'm kind of bouncing out of my seat with excitement right now. Nicole, you don't have to answer me, but there's 2 separate, very thorough trainings in what you just said. So I would be more than happy to come back at some point and provide a training on how do you follow up and what do you do so that you don't lose this person on the first call. For today, let me try and give this to you quickly so you have something. The number one thing that I always recommend to make sure that your follow-ups actually occur is set the next call, schedule the next call on that call. Don't hang up the phone or get off of Zoom until you say, okay, Cheryl, here's what we covered. Here's what we can expect for the next steps. Here's what I'm going to send you. And before we go, let's go ahead and schedule our next call. Now, the reason we're doing this is, and the purpose of this call will be, and then you just schedule that call. Now, this is so bad because now I sound like one of those salespeople, but I can't give it to you today, but I really can't because we don't have time. I give people home fun. Patricia knows this. This is my super secret. It's not secret because I share it, but it is my super power to make sure that I get almost 100% retention for people who say they're going to follow up. They do. I don't get ghosted every once in a while, but it's pretty rare. So booking the call is the first part of it. The second part of it is you're actually going to give them an assignment, and I can't share it with you today because we don't have enough time, but that's where I said I'd be happy to come back. So did that give you enough to go with today, Cheryl? Just book the call. Make sure you
I
book the session.
already booked a session with you.
Okay,
So
great.
we
Talk
will
about it.
we will go further into it, but I thought it might be relevant to everybody, and you gave me something to think about, and now I have more questions. So when we have our 30 minutes, I can ask them.
You got it. Yep. Then we can dive in. Okay. Any other questions? Because I'm actually going to give you all some home fun, as I call it, because if it's work, I don't want to do it. So we don't do homework, we do home fun. Anybody else have questions?
We love the home fun. That's been popular. That's great. I love it. Not homework, but home
Not
fun.
work. We don't need more work. We need more fun. Home fun item number 1. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to look at your questions: who, what, why, where, when, how, and you are going to start crafting some of those. When did this happen? Why are you looking to talk to somebody about this today? How is this affecting everybody else in your family? So you're going to write. I always recommend, when I'm working with my clients, 3 questions under each one of those words. So that would give you a total of 18 questions. You don't ask all of these questions every call. This is just a framework and kind of a memory jolt for you that, oh yeah, when I ask this question, it's really pertinent to my ideal clients. And when they answer it, that gives me a much better idea if this is somebody that I would want to work with and we can continue to move forward. So 3 questions for each one of those words. It will give you a total of 18 questions. And then this is the fun of the home fun. The other thing I want you to do is using that concept, that's an open-ended question. That's what all those words create, open-ended questions, meaning somebody has to respond to you. They can't just say yes or no. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take this into the streets. And what I mean by that is I want you to start talking to real people in your life, whatever you're talking about, using those questions. So sounds like this. Instead of, hey babe, do you want pizza tonight for dinner? You go, hey, what are you feeling like for dinner? What time would you want to leave? Or when was the last time that you thought we could? So asking those open-ended questions like that, watch what happens. My clients have told me over and over again that I'm not just teaching them selling, I'm teaching them better life skills. And the first time I heard it, I thought, what? That felt a little heavy. I'm like, oh, I don't do that. I teach sales. But the more I started thinking about it and the more I started listening, they were right. And I really appreciate them bringing that to my attention, because when you can facilitate a conversation that allows somebody to speak into and feel safe and feel heard so that they actually answer you with more than some throwaway answer or a yes or no, it will absolutely change all of your relationships. And then you start having a ripple effect. And that's how I'm going to end today, because that's what sales to me has always been. So I said when we first started that I really think that selling changes the world, because it changes the world one person at a time, one conversation at a time. So when you are able to have a sales conversation, which is just code for a conversation that is very well facilitated, you start having an impact on everybody in your life. And then they take that energy, which is good energy and positive energy, they take that out into the world, and it starts affecting all of the people that they interact with. So that is how sales and selling really does change the world.
Incredible. Okay. Great words to end on. Thank you everyone for being here. The recording will be on the website by tomorrow in case you need to go back. Yes, bravo. Thanks, Jane. And hopefully we'll have her come back another time and do the follow-up, because that is one question we always get on these, Martin, like follow up. How do I follow up? And they don't have a good system, and it's an important piece. So thank you again. All right. Nice to see everyone.
All right, everybody, have a great. Oh, I'm going to say one more thing. Just if you all would seriously do me a favor, email me as well and just put consult in the line. We are overhauling our back office, and the links were working yesterday, but I'm not quite convinced they're going to stay that way. So if you booked your call, just send me an email, Jane@Showstopping Sales, and say consult, and I will find it. And if it's not popping up on my calendar, I'll get back to you and we'll schedule it. I do not want you guys to miss that. So fair warning, tech has a mind of its own, right?
We know that. All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you so much. My pleasure being here.
Let me end the